Hello everyone, my name is Corazar, and welcome back to Rusty Gears Season 2. We are back in the world about a year later since last episode, because I've been kind of on and off the server for the past week. And, wait a second, Corazar, this isn't where you built Fort Food. We're right next to your dirt hut over there. What's going on? Well, what happened was, I found out that putting it over here, where it's literally 6 degrees warmer, caused a whole bunch of the crops to die. And that's no good. And that would mean that we could only use this farm in, like, the middle of the winter, from maybe October through February or March, because even by May I had found that some of the crops had burned. So I moved them over here, and it's only about 5 degrees cooler, and we do still occasionally get some crops that get fried, like this one right here, in the hottest parts of summer. But it is a much needed improvement over where it was before. Now today, I have a pretty big project lined up, because I want to do the walls on this. And by walls, I mean specifically these outer walls that will come down here. And we're going to do something a bit complicated, in that I want to have a little section that comes off of these corners here, and has like a little terrace down maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 blocks down around these corner bits, and the walls are going to be at a 4:1 angle. I want to use sort of 2 slabs stacked, here, and then here, and then here, and then here. And that way we get a nice gradual slope. We also prevent drifters from just hopping up individual slabs that could happen in, say, a 2:1 ratio. And I have been very busy prepping for this episode. I played around in a creative world trying to come up with a design for the wall, and I came up with one that I really enjoyed. But it meant that we needed a lot of different materials. First, I wanted to do a gradient that involves conglomerate, limestone, and chalk, but also where the bottom blocks are more textured than the top blocks, as if the bottom blocks have been crushed and ground and people have rubbed against them and boards have fallen on them and they're dirty from dirt splashing up on them from the rain. But up at the top, where the plaster and stucco are nice and clean, it looks much cleaner. That meant that I had to go on a big mining and gathering trip. I went out and I quarried a ton of conglomerate, limestone, and chalk. But then I needed other textures, so I got some gravel in all 3 flavors as well. And then I got a bit of chalk sand to finish things out. And let me show you just how much I think we're going to need, if not more. We have in one of these chests, it's a mess, don't look too hard. We have the limestone over here, so tons of relieved limestone and all of these small stones, and then the gravel. We have a ton of conglomerate, stones and gravel. That's our sandstone we've been keeping around, and then our chalk. I didn't need as much of the chalk rock as I did the sand, because I want to use the sand at the very top because it's very smooth. So that's what we have going on today, but I do have a bit of an errand to run, and that is we are going to forget what I even came here for in the first place again. Yes, okay. So what we're going to do here is I need to make a chest. There we go. I need to make a armor stand. There we go. And then I want to sign. Perfect. And last but not least, a bit of chalk to write with. I'll just take a couple of you. And we're going to go over, and I have an inventory full of goodies to share. Now, someone in particular, I don't know if you've been watching her stream, but you should, or her videos, but Saishia has been turning herself into drifter food a lot. And we made a bit of a joke about it, and I asked her if she liked white or blue better, and she responded blue. And so she doesn't know that she's going to be getting a fresh pair of armor. I died in my basement, so we're going to give her some of that. And then I think we also have, yes, a blackguard short sword for her, I have a shield. It's unfortunately not the best shield, but it's what I could make today. And then I also have a whole bunch of recurve bows to give out, because they are just such excellent weapons, and anyone who wants one can have one. So let's go to make these deliveries. Okay, here we are. It's kind of hard to recognize, but this is where that hill used to be, and Zaishia tore down the entire hill and has made this place hers in swift order. So let's take a quick peek inside in our workshop. Very nice. And let's go ahead and we're going to drop this, that, and sword and shield. There we go. If I had a wrench, I'd put it in a different position, but that's fine. And then we need to drop a sign. And here we go. And there we go. No more drifter food. Alright, hope she likes it. We'll check back in and see how she's doing in a while. Now, the other errand I want to run is that I want to drop off these bows up at the community center, and we'll take a look at that too. But first, I'm going to put a few odds and ends away and sleep away the night, and then we'll be on our way. Rise and shine, everyone. It is time to get going. And as we do, we can take a look around the village and see the changes. You'll see that there are no more trees here, which it looks kind of funny with all these ferns. But we have Apaches built up there on the hill. Jaybird is making a modern house, I think with looks like a garage. That's Punkhole's house over there. I think this is Aishia's greenhouse, I'm pretty sure. I don't actually know who's building this house. I'll have to find out. But I like it. The walnut and the chalk. And someone came through and widened this road, and thank you to whoever that was, because this road really, really badly needed it. And here we are arriving at the community center. And boy, has this sprung up in my intermittent absence. And of course we have Purr's house here. But this is the community center still in progress, supposedly. Which is kind of hard to believe, isn't it? But Purr has been really hard at work putting this together, and it is fantastic. She is an absolute machine when it comes to building, and has a very good eye for design. So, I wanted to just put down a little chest, say, I don't know, here. Hard to miss. And drop some bows in. And we'll do... Right, do that. And there we go. 3 composite longbows. We will just leave that there, and I think we'll be on our way. Because we have a lot of work to do. And all of that brings us back to this, our totally not just floating platform rising above the plains. No, not floating. See, it's attached right over there. Anyway, I wanted to go over with you all sort of my process of what I want to do for the appearance of the walls. Now, one thing we will need to do is I do want to probably smooth out all of the land just out to like here, but for the time being we don't need to worry about that too much. Let's go ahead and get some ladders going up here, and I'll show you what I want to do with our design. So I have brought along some phyllite cobblestone and some cobblestone slabs, and I just brought them along to help illustrate what it is I think I want to do here. And that is that I want to start by adding 1 extra block off the end here. So we'll have a fence here, and then 1 technically walkable, technically spawnable block along the edge. However, it won't actually be accessible due to the fences. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down. We're going to put 1 more ladder here. There we go. And what I want to do is I'm going to bring it down like this with a slab. And then, after that, we want to come out by a block, so we're going to do that. We're also going to do a bit of this. We can hop around here a bit. And then we'll do another slab, and then another slab like this. Now, right here, since we are on this corner over here, what we're going to do is we're not going to bring it straight down. And by straight down, I mean we would be going out like this again. We would not be going like that. We would be going something a bit more like this. There we go. And we would go down at a 1 to 2 ratio of slabs, which brings us down to a 4 to 1 slope. And so we get this angle. We'll just fill it in, why not? But we get an angle like this. So it's nice and sharp, and creatures can't just jump up onto this ledge here. And that's important to me because I don't want to be bothered by drifters and such while we're trying to do our farm work. And this kind of slope is what we're going to have from basically here to about here on each side. Because what we're going to do on these corners here is we're going to stop this whole thing right about here. And we're going to put this in, and then we're going to come out here with some dirt, just so I can actually get out here. Is that from here, we're going to have a bit of extra walking space, a terrace, that will wrap around and will come over to about here. And then we'll have some stairs down from, say, here. We'll just have stairs that come over and down and lead into this area. And that way we can have a little bit of extra space for either decorations or maybe something like bees could be kept up here, where they won't be at any risk of ever having raccoons spawn nearby enough to actually reach them. On top of that, I have a bit of an interesting gradient that I have planned, and I have now finally, as you saw, gotten all the materials for it, and so we're going to be doing some of that today. We are very unlikely to finish this whole build today, and even just the wall is probably asking a bit much, but I want to get done a few things that will get us on the way, and then maybe in the next episode we'll have a big build montage while I answer some of your 20 questions, because they have been building up a lot lately. But let's go ahead and we're going to tear this down because we're not going to be using Firelight. There we go. I think we can leave our ladder for now. We'll probably need this in order to actually build our little thing here. I think it's about time for us to get started. Let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing that we need to attend to is we do need to smooth the ground out a little bit. We just need to do a bit of this. Oops, not like that. And just to bring it out probably 1 or 2 blocks beyond where we think it's going to end, which looks to be about here. No, it's going to be farther out. By like 3 blocks, in fact. So we'll just bring this out a little farther. And I have plenty of dirt, luckily, so that shouldn't be a problem. And we're also going to need to clean up all of these things growing here. At least the ones in the spaces that we think we're going to be building in. But eventually we will want to move them anyway, because I do want to turn the interior of this into some kind of interesting sort of work area. Now, I'm purposely not going to bring any kind of smithing in here, because I don't want to take away that feature of the community center. And I think this is going to be sort of the area where you produce food, maybe breed your animals, but we could say it's maybe too hot here for processing leather or for doing other things. Maybe just too darn hot to work here in a forge, and that's why we don't do it here. I will see all of you on the other side of this cleanup job, and we will start putting together our first portion of the wall, and then I want to use that to sort of draw out and measure the rest of the wall around here, so that we don't have to like guess at it the whole way down. We can get an outline going and then build it up rather than always building it down, because building down is so much harder than building up. Okay, good morning everyone. We have gotten almost everything cleaned up, but the first thing I want to do is I want to get up here, and we are going to have a building here that's going to start effectively 1 block back from where we're looking here. So I'm just going to go ahead and we are going to put this here. There we go. And then we need to start our staircase. And I'm going to start with this like so. Now this is going to be an interesting one to actually finish because it's going to require us to jump and place a lot of stairs or use a lot of dirt to get them situated. But I think we can do it. It's just, can't quite reach. And there we go. We now have the start of a staircase that's not going to fit as well as I thought. Oh right, we have to remove these blocks here. This will give us some headroom. Okay, so we are going to have to do something about these. And that something might just mean we may have to move our staircase back one more block in order to let us through. So we might just do a bit of that. But at the moment, this is fine. Is it fine? It's not fine. Let's move this. Okay, that looks a bit better. Let's see if we can get up and down. Yes, we can. Okay, perfect. So now, we can use this to more easily center ourselves, which is sort of the main reason I wanted to do this. That is, we can just bring this out here, because this is where our archway and our gate's going to be. And we may end up moving some of these stairs around. Like, we might want to have like a landing in here for splitting off to going down into these other areas that we might have in the future. But this way we can at least get everything lined up, and the stairs location, their final location, won't really matter as much. That brings us to thing number 2, which is going to be, I think, let's start our little wall. By little, I mean, yes, very little. Let's start our wall here, because we might want to do something different on the corner. I'm just not sure yet what that would be, but we might want to have like an arch in a different color to help it stand out from the rest of the wall. So we're going to go up here. Oh, hello. It's closer than I thought it was. And we're going to remember that we forgot to bring the stuff that we need. Okay, this time we're ready, but I think we're going to tear down this little pillar. We are going to instead come up to here. Right here, we want to start measuring our wall. Let's see how well we do. So this is going to be where it comes out, like so, to basically here. And then we want to get underneath it and just sort of map out where this is all going. And you know what we might do? Something we could do is, I was going to have, since we have the 4:1 ratio going here, I was going to have the same thing sloping in this way, but that's going to run into this and be real close for comfort. Although it is going to end up being basically right here where the door is, so that might not be such a bad thing after all. Let's just try it and see what happens. In a worst case scenario, we can just tear it all down. You know what? That is basically perfect. That is actually literally perfect. Okay. That was entirely an accident, but I will take it. I will absolutely take it. Now, these corner bits are going to be a little weirder because we're going to have slopes coming out from this direction and from this direction. So wherever they meet up, we have to sort of account for that. And we're going to end up with a corner that slopes kind of like a roof would. A very, very, very steep roof. So we'll have a crease that goes all the way down here and meets up somewhere down there. What I want to do next is I want to get some more temporary slabs. And we can just use any slabs for this. Okay, here we go. And we want to also get back up here again. We need a slab here and here. And you'll see here we will need to chisel a corner block that covers at least these 3. You know what we could do? We could just do that. Problem very much solved. So now we can do a bit of this, and then some of this, and then lastly, that goes right to the edge, doesn't it? Wow, that was I wish it had gone a little farther, but we can fix that later. Okay, with that out of the way, we can now see that right here is where we're going to have a corner. Just like that. And now that we have that measured, we can actually go through, and we will now know exactly how far away from the base we need to put our, well, from the base, meaning the top, that we need to put the base of the wall. At least for, actually, the whole thing, honestly. So, we need to come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks out, and that is where our wall begins. And that is excellent to know. I am so jazzed to have this measured already. Let's get something else to build with. Maybe something simple to dig up, like, I don't know, sand or something. And we will just line this whole place with sand, and then we'll start on actually building out a section of wall, probably right here. This one right here should do, because that way we'll have this as a model, and then over here we can start actually building it to that model. And of course, here we're going to have the same thing going on where we have this going up like that, and then we'll have, there we go, these like this, and then we'll have some more going up, like so, and this one would basically be a single block again, and so on. And we could even probably chip away some of this block here, like these corners, could probably go, but that will come in probably a later pass. Yes, this I think definitely needs to be brought back by 1/4 of each block. So I'm going to go ahead and get some sand and lay it out here in the pattern that we're going to use for the base of this whole castle. Well, castle, it's fort food, and then we will start on our wall. Okay, and like that, we now have a nice outline for our base here, for where the walls will come down, and it looks pretty cool on the map too. So you can see here, we're going to have this sort of, almost like a clover or flower kind of design at the base. And what I wanted to do is we're not just going to bring the walls up as one solid color. I want to do a gradient. And that gradient is with, of course, these materials here. We have conglomerate in cobblestone, dry stone, gravel, rock, and brick. We have limestone in cobblestone, dry stone, gravel, rock, and brick. And then we have chalk in just gravel, rock, and sand. And what I want to do is we're going to have the darker and more textured blocks at the bottom, and the lighter and less textured blocks at the top, with a sort of smattering of randomization in between to make it look less, samey and geometric. So what we're going to do here is, let's go ahead and we're going to grab, say, we'll do a stack of the conglomerate cobblestone to start. This is our darkest block. And what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and we'll put a few of these down here, and we will just do one section of wall probably over here. So there we go, and we now have our first layer of wall down. Now this is pretty samey, so what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab some of this dry stone, and we're probably also going to grab some gravel, and I think let's do some bricks as well. And what we'll do is we'll just come in here and we're going to somewhat randomly place some of these with some of the blocks in my inventory. So we have that. Let's go ahead and we'll put one of these bricks on the corner. Maybe we'll have a piece of gravel here and some dry stone there. And we need to get you guys out here too. And then we'll have one of you. And maybe we'll have another gravel. And then we'll do another one of you. And maybe even two of you side by side. That can be interesting. And then we'll do some more dry stone and some more gravel. And we'll do another dry stone. That brings us to here where we can do, let's do some more gravel right there. So now we have this nice texturing going on here where if you look at it up close, it looks a little noisy, but from a distance, especially once we see it all together with the different colors going up, I think it will all work really well together. And so what we're going to do is on our second layer here, we're going to go ahead and do again, another sort of randomization of all of our blocks. We're just going to go like this. Maybe take out you. There we go. And I am using majority cobblestone because it's cheap and it's also the most textured. So I think it'll kind of look the best. I don't necessarily want to avoid having sort of sections that are the same. Like I have the bricks here. We can make it look like the sections were maybe repaired, so that's why we have some gravel, or maybe we'd have a couple of the dry stone stacked, or like that at least. And yeah, that way we can have this all work out really well together. Now, something we want to do is, as we come through here, maybe not right now, we will probably want to chisel the gravel and sand blocks that we use, because otherwise they can get a little bit unstable, and they'll fall, which I'm sure you've all noticed that the game has falling blocks sometimes. But yeah, let's go ahead and we'll get this rest of this layer put in here. And there we go. We now have the start of our wall. You can kind of already see that it's going to be a little bit noisy, but the farther away you get from it, the darker it gets because it's dark out. Imagine that! So what I want to do from here then is, so we have 6 blocks to work with from the base to our first terrace, well, the singular terrace. And then we have a few more blocks, namely 4 more blocks to the top. Now, the top edges of these are going to be done in, I think, chiseled sandstone. I've kind of settled on that. So we really only have about, what, 5-ish blocks to work with? So we need to then get our limestone going on. And I think for the 6-block terrace areas, only the very top layer is going to have much, if any, chalk. And we'll sort of reserve the nice bright chalk for the highest areas on our fort, because down here, you know, this is where the most water has run down, and this is where you've had mud splashing up from rain hitting down here, and people, you know, touching it, or animals pooping on it, that kind of thing. And so that's why we're going to go with this dark stuff down here, and then lighter the farther up you go. Okay, now for these next 2 layers, I want to start bringing up some of the smoother conglomerate textures a bit, and that means we're going to be using the conglomerate gravel, the stone bricks, and the rock. And as we do that, I'm also going to start sort of varying the height of this whole area. So what we might do is we might put maybe even just 1 right there. And we're doing this because this is also where we're going to start the limestone. So I brought that along, and let's go ahead and get the limestone in our bar, and we're going to start kind of doing the same thing. Now the limestone, we do have some cobblestone, and I think I have all of the same textures of limestone as I do from the conglomerate, but they are a bit softer in general. As you can see, we now have this sort of patchwork, where you can see it's getting lighter the farther up we go. So let's go ahead and we are going to get 1 more layer of limestone in here. And I just goofed because these all need to come in by half a block. And there we go. We now have a nice gently sloped, or start to a gently sloped wall. And let's go ahead and get up a little bit higher. We now have a limestone layer to do, and then I think it's time to grab some sandstone and see how it looks. I haven't tested it as much yet, but I think I want to see if we can fit the polished sandstone full blocks along here and make it look good. we go. And I'm going to go ahead, because otherwise I'm going to forget and accidentally remove some of the wall. I'm going to go ahead and just chisel at least all of these blocks here, so they are no longer gravity affected. And that way we should be able to remove our dirt from underneath here and reclaim that. Yes, good. Let's take a look from over here. Yes. That slight gradient going up. Okay, now let's go and get our sandstone and get that in place. And we're just going to bring it the whole way back. Probably to something more like here for now, just to be on the safe side, because we do need to come in here and cut in some stairs, or not cut in, we need to lay some stairs, and that's going to inform how this whole area sort of meets up with the rest. These corners will be a little bit funky to deal with, and boy does it get dark early these days. That should do. And then we'll have a similar dirt path going down this way, along with stairs going up right over there. Up to there. But for now, this is a good start, I think. Let's go ahead and we'll bring these up a little bit. Just go ahead and put dirt next to you for now. This probably isn't what our final design will be, but dirt will do a-okay for the time being. Whoops. Let's get that going. And then like that. And yes, this does mean that we'll be replacing probably some, most, or all of this stuff with the polished sandstone. We might just do the edges and leave the interior as cobblestone. Or we might end up doing the whole thing. I don't know. That's a lot of quarrying, but I've already done, like, at least half of it. So, that shouldn't be a huge problem. Okay, so, I think it's time to get back on the limestone, and at this point, probably the chalk train. And let's go and get some of those and bring them up and start getting those blocks in place. Okay, so here we are. I have removed the sandstone slabs underneath these guys as well, and I've added these sandstone rocks in here. And we may definitely put something else here. I'm not sure yet. I might also just widen this out to the full 3 blocks and leave it like that. But I am undecided at this point. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to come in and we have a chance here to use some of the dirtier rocks, or dirtier blocks, because right along here we're not going to see it from the outside, and for someone up here it might look good to have at least a little bit of more texture up here than we do higher up in the wall, because our limestone is going to stop here. Right here we will have no more limestone. So what we're going to do is we're going to just maybe drop one of you, yeah, just the one of you I think, and maybe we'll even take out a couple of you. I don't want to oversaturate this with the textured blocks, because we're going to come in with some limestone gravel like that, and then probably let's do a brick, and then that. Okay, so now we're going to come through, and this is going to be a slab on this side of the block. So any slabs that you put up will need to be vertical like that. And we might, no, we'll take that one out actually. We're going to do something a bit like this, because here I don't want to use any of the texture blocks. It's going to be all limestone rock and limestone gravel, but not a ton of them. Let's go ahead and we'll do something like this, and maybe, I don't know, that, and then we'll do that. And that's going to make way for our final colors, chalk. Now the chalk is very pale, and it's going to be very low texture on purpose. So we're going to put them in order of lowest to most texture. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to put the chalk gravel, not on that block actually. We are first going to come through here and build another backing piece right here, all along this row here. And we're going to come in here with the chalk gravel, and not everywhere. The chalk gravel is going to be a somewhat prominent bit along here. So that should be, actually no, we might even remove them all from this layer and keep them all on that first layer. That probably ought to do. For the chalk rock, we're going to bring those in here, and then we're going to do a few, but not a ton, up here. Let's do one there, and then we'll do one there. And then the rest of this is all going to be sand, like so. Let's go ahead and we're going to chisel these back. Oh, with a hammer, right. And then we're just going to go ahead and chisel all the sand blocks to keep them where they are. There we go. So now we have this sort of very sharp edge, ziggurat-like corner here going on, with this sort of kind of tapered wall that comes up to a second tapered wall that I actually slightly messed up. I realized this row needs to be on this side. Let's just grab these and we will move them momentarily. Okay, that's a bit better. So there we have that pretty well complete for one section of the wall. Okay, so after working through the rest of the night, I have finished out this section of the wall, including out to the corner. Figured you didn't need to watch me put more blocks on top of each other. But let's get out here and take a look from afar. And yes, I like it. Now this is a lot of work going into walls, but I am having fun, and since I enjoy the outcome, I think this will be a blast to do. But yes, this is what we're going to be doing for the walls, and that's going to be a pretty big job. Even today's episode was a lot of recording and even more prep work going and getting all of the stone and other materials we needed. Now luckily, I do think we have enough. I went and quarried a whole lot, got a bunch of different kinds of materials, and we haven't gone through hardly any of them. So I think we should have enough materials for doing probably the whole fort. So we're going to get going on that in the next episode. And I think what we'll do is I might just put on some good old vintage story background music and answer some of your 20 questions that you've had, and we'll finish out the rest of these walls while we're doing that. Well everyone, that is about all the time we have for this episode of Rusty Gears Season 2. I hope you enjoyed our little bit of errands and the start of Fort Food's proper walls, so it is no longer a floating square in the sky. I wasn't really expecting to start out with a mega build, but we needed food, we needed flax, actually mostly flax, and I thought it would be the thing to do because the community center gardens were struggling in winter. So I think we can look forward to many more episodes around here before we get to some other interesting things. As always, my name has been Corazar. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.